Hey guys, Jim Grant here for AmmoLand TV, and today we're taking a closer look at the Henry Long Ranger in .308. This is Henry's response to shooters who liked their all-American made lever action rifles, but wanted the rifles chambered in something a little more potent than what is typically found in a lever action rifle, which is to say, essentially revolver cartridges, though there are some exceptions like 30-30. But still, this model is chambered in .308 Winchester. It does accept 7.62 by 51 NATO just fine, but there are essentially three models of the Henry available, one in 6.5 Creedmoor, one in .308 Winchester, and then a third model in 223 Remington/5.56. All of these models have a sub-model that includes either iron sights or does not include iron sights, and I opted for the model that included the iron sights. Now you'll notice that I've got a Vortex Viper 1-4x24 on here. This obviously did not come with the rifle setup, nor did the optics rail. Though Henry does sell an optics rail on their website, I opted instead for an EGW made one because it was cheaper and the shipping was a lot faster and I needed it ASAP. Also, EGW makes good stuff, but priorities. The Henry includes all hardwood furniture, and on the buttstock you'll notice some extremely handsome looking checkering that almost looks hand checkered. It's not quite deep enough to be hand checkered. It is most likely pressed into the wood, and it does a fantastic job of actually giving the shooter enough purchase and an extra grippiness for better weapon retention. On the back of the rifle is it's about an inch, maybe inch and a quarter thick rubberized butt pad with the Henry logo, I believe, emblazoned on it. And it does a very good job of soaking up the recoil from .308. This is not a lightweight rifle by any means, but just the same, it's a great balance of handiness and recoil reducing heft. Almost like an M1 Garand, but not quite that heavy. Now the action, it is again .308, but it is magazine fed. We have these proprietary magazines which hold 4 rounds, and if you're looking for an extended magazine, they in fact do not exist. And if you're wondering why that is, I'll show you. So when you work the action on the Henry, it goes just about 90 degrees. So any kind of extended magazine couldn't go any further than maybe 1/3 of an inch beneath where this magazine seats. So you could maybe squeeze in 1 round, but that's it. As much as I would love for this thing to accept M1A or FAL or G3 mags, it's just not realistic unless they, completely redesign the gun to feed from the side. And while that would be very steampunk and kind of badass, it really wouldn't appeal to the kind of people that tend to like Henry rifles. Anyway, back to the gun itself. The action is surprisingly smooth. I was not expecting a lot given the overall length of a .308 cartridge. As you can see, the ejection port is fairly large, and so you've got a long distance to travel with this action, but just the same, and I'll drop the hammer real fast, you can see it's very, very easy. Now above this, the receiver comes from the factory drilled and tapped. There are 4 little inlet screws. Like I said before, I got this EGW Picatinny adapter to put on top, and I picked a pair of extra low Night Force rings that I utilized, if you saw it before, in the Ruger American Rifle review, because it's perfect for getting this scope as low as possible. Now I would not recommend these rings if you use something like a more traditional scope, not an LPVO like this Vortex, simply because the front aperture of the optic will definitely interfere with the barrel. Speaking of which, this barrel is 20 inches long and features, again, that nice hardwood forearm with the aggressive checkering. And sorry if my Band-Aid is blocking everything. I was in a car accident, which helps really cement the fact that the recoil is not that bad on this gun, and neither is the manual of arms, because I can do it with 2 sprained thumbs, a dislocated finger, and a broken toe. How does the toe affect my shooting ability? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Now, integral to the barrel is a little dovetail cut here with a flip-up buckhorn iron sight, which is adjustable for both windage and elevation. You can just drift it for windage, and there's a little set screw, which is very difficult to see from there, so I'll cut to some B-roll here in a second. You loosen that screw and you can move the little buckhorn up and down to get a nice adjustment for elevation, though you're not really going to need it because in testing, point of aim, point of impact was dead on at 100 yards when I tested it with the iron sights. And the iron sights are actually really nice. I thought it would be a little lackluster in terms of usability. Like, they're handsome, they seem robust, they're not polymer, they're all made of steel, but I thought, given the size of this rifle and the distance of my targets and the size of those targets, that the iron sights would really just be superfluous. But truth be told, they worked fantastic. As long as you actually have half decent eyesight, I do not, which is why I always wear these prescription sunglasses, you can actually hit your target. Now, to match that rear sight, up at the muzzle, you'll see we've got this little front sight post with a white accent up top to help your eye catch that front sight in low light conditions or twilight or whatnot. And in testing again, it was very easy to find with my eye, and it was dead on. It's a very soft shooting gun. I've had no malfunctions with it whatsoever. I mean, it is a manually operated firearm. If you want to have spare magazines for it, I believe they run around $50, and you can buy them directly from Henry's website. Speaking of the magazines, they are a blued steel magazine. It looks like a phosphate coating with traditional bluing, and the receiver itself also has what appears to be a phosphate coating. It's definitely not Cerakote. It has a different texture to it, but in testing has been fairly robust. I mean, I didn't drag it across blacktop, but I treat every gun like it's rented, and I didn't scratch up the receiver at all. The barrel appears to be hot blued, looks very, very nice. And although it's very difficult to see from there, you can see engraved on one side is Henry Firearms of New York, and on the other side, Caliber .308 Winchester. Very old school. The barrel is not threaded. It is a traditional hunting rifle. It is a 20-inch long barrel, which is pretty ideal for a .308 cartridge. All right, so I've put around 200 rounds of ammo through this gun, and even with a beat up shoulder and banged up body in general from that damn crash, the recoil was very manageable. The gun was perfectly accurate. I mean, as accurate as I needed it to be, out to about 250 yards. I didn't test beyond that because, well, to be honest, I'm a little too banged up to be hopping out in the woods right now. But in that limited testing, it was dead on. Obviously, .308 is not ideal for really, really long range shooting, but it definitely gets the job done. This would be a fantastic, fantastic rifle for hunting deer or even elk or moose. I'm a big fan of .308 in general. And with an MSRP of $999, so just shy of $1,000, I think it's a very, very fine, firearm. It's an excellent deal. There is no safety on it. Just wanted to mention that real fast. So if you want to put it in safe, you basically have to decock it manually. I would, if at all possible, clear the action first. So if you're wondering, was it safe? What if it drops on the hammer? Yes, it's completely safe. There is a safety mechanism built in here, although there is no manual safety. When you pull the trigger, a small piece of sheet steel drops and reveals the firing pin, allowing the hammer to strike it and then detonate the round. Provided that the shooter is not holding the trigger down when the hammer is struck, it can't detonate the round. Anyway, I think overall it's an excellent hunting rifle, a great hiking rifle if a bit heavy. And yeah, I mean, yes, it's not cheap, but it's 100% made in America. Nothing made in America is cheap. Thanks, guys. For AmmoLand TV, I'm Jim Grant. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you guys on the flip side.